Now, you probably don't know this, but brands keep a very close eye on their customers and how they behave in queues, such as the one right behind me. There's actually something called the neuroscience of queue behavior. And that is something that is very close to the heart, I imagine, of Dave Timm, who looks after marketing for the giant KFC brand. Dave, a very warm welcome to you. Ultimately, it's all about getting food into mouth as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but there is a little bit more to it than that. And, you know, you touched on kind of neuroscience and behavioral psychology, and there's some very interesting human dynamics that sit behind people in queues. The easiest way to explain it is if you think about your own experience when you're sitting in a traffic jam and there are 3 or 4 lanes of traffic, the temptation is to try and find the one that's moving fastest.
Particularly in South Africa, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason for that is people start feeling anxiety when there are multiple options in terms of queuing. Yes, getting food into people's mouths quickest is very important for us. Speed is a key thing. And part of that is how do we actually manage queues in store so that we give people the best possible experience.
So you've got to optimize their experience. Is there a way in which you do it?
There is a one best way, and hopefully on your next show at some stage I'll be able to give you some more information, because we are testing at the moment various options. You know, because you can at the moment, most of our stores, we have a system where people can queue at multiple tills. So we are testing, you know, what we're calling a fusion model, where we get people queuing in the snake system. And you know, I know from a psychology point of view, people understand that that's a fair system. What we really need to test for and solve for is, do we get people through our system quicker than that, because speed is so important for our customers.
Is there an optimal time from a decision to make the purchase to when you come and stand in the queue to when you put the piece of chicken or the fries or whatever into your mouth?
As quickly as possible, because we know that speed is important. You know, people come to us partly because we're fast. Getting people with their food, sitting down or whatever, experience great food is critical for us.
When you're standing in the queue, is there a point where you might want to give up? I'm looking here, and again, we're filming this morning in a fairly quiet environment. I would imagine it gets a lot busier around about lunchtime at a weekend, but be that as it may, people are still arriving. But if I look to my left, there are lots of other options that are available. In other words, your competitors. At what point does someone standing in the queue here say, as much as I want the product, enough is enough, I'm going somewhere else? Because that's what you don't want.
Yeah, look, it's different for everybody. You know, I mean, and I guess it depends to a certain extent on the time people have, but also to what extent they love our food versus competitors. You know, so queues are a real double-edged sword for us. You know, because they're a fantastic thing for us in that they're an indicator of demand. And you know, people have great passion for our brand and for our food. At the same time, though, queues are a problem for us because people do drop off the back of queues. They do get to a point, and you know, I know in certain instances, people sometimes don't come to a KFC because they know there's going to be a queue there anyway. So it's a real double-edged sword for us.
A double-edged sword. Look, again, the people that are standing in the line you have, they already made a conscious decision earlier in the day to come to a KFC, or perhaps if they walked into the food court and they've looked at the options and they said, well, I will go here. So is it a brand thing, or is it simply driven by price and good advertising?
Again, it's different for different people, but primarily with KFC, because we're such a strong brand, people make a choice about coming to KFC first, and then they'll make a product decision second. There will be instances where people are hungry and then we'll look around at different options and make a choice. But for us, and you know, we're in a very strong position from that point of view, is that people make a choice about, I want to go to KFC. And hence, there are a lot of people who will tolerate the long queues where perhaps they wouldn't somewhere else.
So you've made the decision to come to the KFC. Now I'm standing in the queue, and I'm going to be very honest with you, I'm confused. I'm looking at all sorts of different options here, different price points and different offerings. Surely the consumer stands here sometimes and is absolutely mesmerized. Are you not overly complicated when it comes to your menu offerings?
Yeah, look, I think we have got some complexity in our menu board, and we have feedback from our consumers with that regard, and it is something that we are looking at. You know, I think what we're striving to achieve in store is to make the process of decision making as simple as possible, and I think we've got some room for improvement there.
Is there a way in which the person behind the counter relates to the person who is looking at the menu and cannot make up their mind? Or is that simply me because I'm getting on in years?
I think that is part of the customer experience, and customer experience is something that consumers are looking for more and more. It's not just food that they're after. So I think part of the customer experience is to make sure that we have team members who are able to help consumers with their decision making. But at the same time, we need to make sure that doesn't slow down the guy who's behind them in the queue. Because
so you can't pass the time of day, in other
Correct.
words, but you have to be polite.
Yes.
Here's a final question for you. Store design. How important is that in terms of where your particular industry is going? Is it about the convenience, as we've been talking about, or the experience, or a combination of the two?
It's a combination. We are in the business of convenience, but more and more I think consumers are looking for a much bigger package. So just being convenient and having great food, I don't think is enough anymore. People are now also looking for an experience. Sometimes it'll be with family, sometimes with friends, sometimes just for quiet time on your own. So I think store design is something where the industry is making some quite rapid changes. And we certainly need to be at the forefront of that.
Difficult, I would imagine, in a kiosk kind of environment to give a person a brand experience, or is it?
Well, it is. Sometimes we have more control over the environment and we're able to do it our own way. The other times where you have space limitations or design architectural limitations, and in those situations we do the best that we can, and we always try and put the customer first and think, well, what do they need, and manage around that.
I appreciate the valuable insight to David Timm from KFC, and that is how we behave as consumers. We've looked at the art and science of something called Shopology, we've looked at branding of energy drinks, and we've discussed that whole notion about brand loyalty versus price imperative. I hope you've realized some valuable consumer insight. Goodbye to you, and thank you for watching.